should be avoided. That is what Maharaj was trying to explain. Niyamagraha, that you follow strictly what Prabhupada said, but at the same time, you have to engage your consciousness, your affection in that. So both have to be there. Sometimes now what happens is that we tend to become too creative and start adding new things, which Prabhupada did not want. And that is the recent development over the last couple of, I would say maybe 10, 15 years, that devotees started adding, which they got from other sampradayas or other groups that are following some things. They start adding, like, okay, in the month of Purushottama, we're going to sing this song now. It's going to make it a new tradition, Chaurashtakam. Not authorized at all. But we do it, and then what happens, if any one of us as temple leaders start doing it, then the next generation comes, they think this is authorized by Prabhupada. Now, if the next generation have to do research, what is authorized by Prabhupada, what is not, and we can't trust, then we are doing a disservice. Therefore, it's very important to stick to what Srila Prabhupada said and stick to the program that is given. Now, we may ask, what is wrong with doing this Chaurashtakam? What is wrong? But the thing is, you can ask the same question of adding Om in Jai Jagdish Hare. What is wrong with Om Jai Jagdish Hare? Nothing wrong. I mean, Om is the name of Krishna. Krishna said, Pranava Sarva Vedeshu. In Gita, he said, I am Om. So stick it in there. No. What is wrong is because we are trying to be too smart and add things just because we fancy them. They may be somewhat okay. They may even be found in scriptures. But dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam mahajano yena gata sapantha. That the essence of dharma, even scriptures will confuse us. So the only way we can do is follow in the footsteps and in the footprints of Mahajana. And in ISKCON, the Mahajana is Srila Prabhupada. So he's given very detailed things, what to do, what not to do, how to approach when you're preaching. This is how you focus on, how to do worship, how not to do certain things. I mean, he's given everything repeatedly in many, many places. He said, don't add new things. He said it also, don't add new things. So we don't need to add new things in the name of making some kind of variety of flavor, especially when we start putting in new traditions. For example, this month of Purushottam, or this Adhik Mas, we call it. These days we hear lots of deep classes and lots of emphasis. Let's focus on Adhik Mas, on Purushottam month. Srila Prabhupada spent so many years in ISKCON. How many references to Purushottam month you'll find in Veda base? Only one, and even that he just made in passing. Why? Why is that? He did say focus on Kartik, but even that on Kartik, what we were supposed to do, just improve our chanting, go visit Vrindavan if that's possible. But this idea, even he was asked, Prabhupada, should we do this for Kartik? Do that? Why, so many good things about Kartik month is there. Prabhupada said, yes, those things are there to provide impetus for new people. We are already members. It's like a sale that you sell. You have a sale in your shop, and if you have a shop that requires membership, and you make a sale to get new members, then you give some discounts. So these kind of things are incentive for that. But you're already devotees, you're already members. You don't need incentive. You're already way ahead, so no need to worry too much about it. Yes, but that's why Prabhupada didn't preach that too much. He didn't emphasize that. And now, why is it become popular? That's another question. The reason is that our hearts tend to go for the path of least resistance. And ritualism is actually a path of least resistance because it's easy. We can just do it mindlessly. We can do it blindly. And it doesn't require the hard work of facing our anarthas, the hard work of working on ourselves, because ritualism anybody can do mechanically. And that ends up being offensive, that ends up being a waste of time, and it ends up misleading those who are new. So best is to follow Srila Prabhupada's very detailed guidelines, and to not get too creative in adding things, especially when we want to add new sorts of bhajans and make new traditions of doing this month and doing that month. If you want to intensify our sadhana, you do intensification of what Prabhupada has already given. You chant more deeply, you chant more rounds, you read Prabhupada's books more deeply. You do that in the month of Kartik, you do that in the month of Purushottama. But if we add ritualism, then we move away from spiritualism. You see, ritualism is actually the enemy of spiritualism. Why? In spiritual, you have the Supreme Personality and his interests. If you remove the Supreme Personality and his interests, then you get, from spiritual, you remove SPI, you get what? Ritual. Spiritual, you take out SPI, you get ritual. So you focus on the Supreme Personality and his interests, then you become spiritual, and they bring spirituality in ritualism. You see? So we cannot separate the two. But it's a very good question. It's something that a lot of devotees are recognizing as a problem, and they are actually making this clear as we identify this issue, to make it clear. I know in India this is going on very nicely. Some devotees who are leaders in India have identified this as an issue, and they're very strict on not slipping, going down the slippery slope. So we should also try to be as loyal to Srila Prabhupada's direction as possible. And if you want to add something to that, going to Prem Prabhu, it's a good question. It's a little bit advanced question, I would say, but I think it's an important one.
And thank you, Madan Gopal Prabhu. Just
do you agree with? Do you agree with?
100%. I just thought it was important for all of us to know, because we might just get carried away. Because even if we're beginners, it's very important. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, Kirtika Mataji.
Thank you very much, Prabhu, for that explanation, and Govinda Prabhuji for that question, because for us who are aspiring devotees, it's easy if you tell us, light a lamp. That might be easy for us than to chant one extra mala. So we will go on the slippery slope and say, I'd rather do, so Purushottam month, let me do this, and not concentrate on chanting. The emphasis is always on chanting. And it is very easy to, because we all are karmic, we all want to do karma, we all want to do something, but not concentrate on chanting, because that is something new for us. So we can think that, we'll substitute the chanting for this. So thank you for clarifying it, because we all are on the slippery slope.
Yeah, it's important. And also chanting, and also very important is this aspect of reading or hearing the philosophy, because that is another area where we tend to intentionally minimize and sacrifice and find an excuse in ritualism. Even when we go to hear, right? When we go to hear, we should focus on hearing the philosophy and the tattva very deeply. Sometimes what happens, someone will do some kind of katha where the emphasis is on all the leelas and stories, and there's not much philosophy discussed at all in that katha. Prabhupada's katha was not like that. Prabhupada's katha was 80 to 90% philosophy, maybe 10% of the stories. That is the ratio he maintained. Why? Why didn't he do these 7-day saptas where we only discuss, Krishna's dancing with the gopis and stuff? He never did that, even though these days is very popular. And the reading from Bhagavatam itself is not from Bhagavatam, but it is the emphasis and the mood of Srila Prabhupada that we need to preserve. Why those kind of kathas, hundreds and thousands of people go, but when it's time to understand Bhagavad Gita or the philosophy of Bhagavatam, the first canto, second canto, that nobody comes. That again shows it's a sort of intellectual laziness and a sort of fear on working on yourself. You see, where you have to understand the philosophy. We should not be lazy in understanding the Siddhanta. Mahaprabhu himself said, Siddhanta chitte boliye na karo alash. Don't be lazy. Don't do alas. Alas can Gujarati. Don't do that. Don't be lazy in understanding philosophy. It's very, very important. And Prabhupada emphasized it all the time. So if we want to become effective in the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada, it is very important. It is imperative for us to understand Prabhupada's mood, read his instructions, read his purports, and also read his biography, read his letters, read his conversations. You can see what he emphasized. You don't need to guess. There's no guesswork needed. We have hundreds of hours of recording of Srila Prabhupada. You just hear that, read his letters, read his books, and we'll be fully in line. We don't need to even have these discussions in that case. These discussions only come in because we are not reading the books enough. That's all. If everybody in ISKCON is reading Prabhupada's books very thoroughly and following it, these problems will not even come up. They will not. It's laughable. Then you laugh at them. Why are we talking about this? Prabhupada never did this, so why are we doing it? It's very simple. Stick with Srila Prabhupada, we'll be very happy. And we will be also more unshakable, we'll be stronger and more steady in our Krishna conscious practice.
Prabhuji, I have a question. Can you give us 3 examples of rituals?
Okay, it depends on what you mean. Like, there is rituals and then there's ritualistic thinking. Okay. There are karma kanda rituals that are meant only for the purposes of improving our material situation. That is karma kanda ritual. Then there is ritualistic thinking, where we apply that mentality to a spiritual activity. And we mentioned it yesterday, if you remember. Like, for if I buy a new house, I do Griha Pravesh Puja, and then after doing the puja, I'll feel that, okay, now I will not have issues in the house. It'll be peaceful and all that, right? Graha Shanti, they say. So then they do this, whatever, all the planets get appeased, and then whatever. We do that for the weddings also. Before weddings, they do Graha Shanti and so on. That is a Karma Kanda ritual. Now, if part of that same mentality, I start chanting Hare Krishna, and say, okay, I'm going to do now 3 rounds of Hare Krishna. That's a purely spiritual activity for the purpose of improving my business. Because Karma Kanda, there are certain pujas you do that will help you improve your profit for the year or something like that. So as part of that Karma Kanda system, I will also chant some rounds. It'll be like an ahuti into the fire. That is an offense to the holy name. In fact, it's listed as an offense. We listed it yesterday, right? To consider Hare Krishna to be one of the auspicious ritualistic activities found in the karma, in the Vedas, Karma Kanda. So that is a way of imposing ritualistic thinking into a spiritual activity. So we can do reading of Bhagavad Gita. Okay, reading of Bhagavad Gita is a spiritual activity. It engages the intelligence. Okay. Sometimes, part of ritualizing something, we will just read the Sanskrit just for the purposes of some kind of karma kanda ritual we're doing. Only we have no idea what is being said. Nothing wrong with that. Actually, reading Sanskrit repeatedly is very good spiritually if the aim is to improve myself spiritually. But if I do it only for the sake of some karma kanda section, okay, child is born, I'm going to read Bhagavad Gita verses. The Sanskrit verses, recite certain verses, or someone died, only recite the verses with no aim to understand, with no aim to become more spiritual. So it's about spiritual mentality and ritual mentality. You see, so we can even use Bhagavad Gita as if it's one of the mantras of Karma Kanda, and that is also an offense. You see, and we find it all the time. We attend any funeral, the Maharaj, sometimes he will just read the Sanskrit of it, and the kids who are there, they have no idea what is being said, and it's no aim, no description that this is Krishna who spoke it. It's just one of the many mantras that he speaks. So that is a ritualistic mindset, applying it to spiritualism. Same thing we can do with our chanting japa also, even if you don't consider karma kanda, but we can do it mechanically, and that is a big problem for those of us who are practicing in a conditioned state, is that we will chant japa mechanically only, and we'll feel weighted down by it. We'll feel, I have to chant these 16 rounds. When it will be over, instead of relishing and appreciating and finding this is an opportunity to sit with Krishna one-on-one, with that mentality of love. There's 2 ways to do it, ritualistically and spiritually. So those are just a couple examples.
So in short, it is any activities if you just do it, then it's a ritual. But if you spiritualize the same activity, then that is not a ritual.
Yeah, it has the consciousness and the motivation. 2 things are important. What is the motivation behind doing it? And what is my consciousness and my level of awareness for while I'm doing it? So when offering arti, my consciousness is to please the Lord, and to show my love to the Lord, or to show my gratitude to the Lord. I'm making an offering. I cook some food items. While I'm cooking also, I'm thinking Krishna will enjoy this. I'm going to cut it the best way I know how to cut it. I'm going to spice it perfectly right for the Lord. When he tastes it, he'll be pleased. I hope Srila Prabhupada will be pleased. And then you offer it with all humility and affection. That is the best way to do it. And another way to do it is, I'm talking about so many other things and gossiping while I'm cutting. Who cares what I do? And doesn't matter. I just have to do it because I have to do it. The amount is spending the same amount of time, but if you do it with your consciousness focused spiritually, then we make progress spiritually, and the person who eats that prasadam will feel the love. There's no doubt about it. So that is the idea. It's Krishna, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, not International Society for Krishna Ritualism. It's about a consciousness.
So in the example of Grah Pravesh, you will still do those activities and say, I'm Krishna, let's enter into this house, or I'm doing this.
Yes.
This
Yes.
big house is built for you to enjoy and to
Yes,
serve the
exactly.
devotees, and we'll have kirtans in this house. And then while entering the house, this is the consciousness you should have, and then also do the puja part that is supposed to, or do the chanting. I'm confused. Do we still do that, and do we still chant?
We still do the pujas, but there are Vaishnava versions of the pujas, like there is, how they do Swasti Vachanam, right? Swastina Indro, like that, right? So they're to please Indra and all that. There's a Vaishnava version of that, where all the names of Vishnu are used instead of Indra and Brihaspati and all that. So those some pujaris are trained how to do that, the Vaishnava version of it. And so every mantra, instead of having the demigods in it, it'll be full of names of Krishna. See, so that's already Krishnaized. That's one point. Another point is that during the entire ceremony, kirtan must be going on. So that basically Krishnaizes everything. I remember when Srila Prabhupada, first of all, Prabhupada didn't have to conduct weddings, but he did weddings in the early days. He himself would conduct weddings. Wedding is like a karma kanda thing, but he would do it. Why? Because he felt it's an important part of Vaishnava community. You see, so he did it. And then he would teach how to do the fire and this and that. And then the devotees would ask about details. Prabhupada, what about these mantras? How are you supposed to say this? And how many pieces of wood are you supposed to put? Prabhupada said this is all a show, and the main thing is a kirtan. So it doesn't really matter these details. Prabhupada said that the fire and all that is just really basically, this part is just a show to people feel something ritual happened. But the main powerful element is a kirtan that's going on. That should not stop. Prabhupada said it. So that is our understanding also. We can make the fire sacrifice as elaborate or as simple as you need. That part is just there so it remains in our consciousness and impression that the fire was there as witness. But it doesn't have to be very complicated. The actual active ingredient in that is what's happening in the background, the kirtan. That is the actual active ingredient.
Instead of having the songs of the wedding in the background, it is better to have the kirtan, and that is the essence.
Oh yeah. I mean, we should not have those mundane songs. But we're living in a culture, we live in a world where this folk culture is very important, and so we'll sing the Gujarati Lagna Geet and all that. That's fine, it's just so those guests who have come, they don't feel that something missing. But main thing is that if you're devotees, you want to make sure Kirtan is taking place. You want to make sure the Krishna's names are spoken repeatedly. And the priest, if he's a devotee and can explain nicely why this aspect is important for improving our Krishna consciousness and quoting Prabhupada and this and that is the good kind of wedding ritual to do. Where we infuse every aspect, every opportunity with Krishna consciousness.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Are there any other questions? Sorry for hogging up all the questions. If there are no questions, I'll hand over to Path Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, His Grace Madan Gopal Prabhuji and His Grace Govind Prem Prabhuji. They are graciously joined today, and we are so fortunate. We're getting the association of a great devotee and advanced devotee. For the glorification of Prabhuji, Madan Gopal Prabhuji and Govind Prem Prabhuji, will chant Hare Krishna mantra once. Also, we are thanks to all the participants, all the devotees are joined in this Zoom class. Also, I thanks. So everyone, please unmute yourself and chant Hare Krishna mantra. Please join. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki. Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So for everyone's information, tomorrow at 6 o'clock is Prasanta Mata's class. It's okay, Mataji?
I think so. Yes, Prabhuji, I'll confirm with her, but she said that she'll be joining us.
Oh, yes, good. 6 o'clock we will be joined tomorrow. Thank you very much, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Already Saturday.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I'm ending the session, Prabhuji.
Yes, yes, please.
Who is Krishna? Is it Matamat Krishna?
Neil Prabhuji.
Oh, Neil Prabhuji. He is called Krishna. Hare Krishna, Neil Prabhuji. Welcome to the group. Thank you very much.